In 1934, a young Jewish man would leave his home state of Wisconsin and travel to Washington, D.C. to become a research assistant to a committee that would draft the Social Security Act. The act, signed by President Franklin D. Roosevelt, would serve as the backbone for the American social safety net for generations to come. And this young Jewish man, Wilbur Cohen, would become the architect of social welfare programs from the 1930s until the 1970s. Some of our greatest welfare institutions are thanks directly to Wilbur's efforts. Historians have much to say about Wilbur Cohen, but my favorite description of him was by the journalist Theodore H. White, who wrote, "After all his years in the Capitol, Cohen had lost none of his humanitarian glow, as though he feels every person in the country who is home alone sick is his personal responsibility." And throughout his career, Wilbur Cohen served numerous presidential appointments, culminating as the Secretary of Health, Education, and Welfare, and appointed by Lyndon B. Johnson. Mr. Cohen was described as the man who built Medicare. The New York Times called him one of the country's foremost technicians in public welfare, and portrayed him as a man of boundless energy, infectious enthusiasm, and a drive for action. This was the man who built America's greatest social safety net in our history, and he did so being driven by Jewish values. Values such as tikkun olam, repairing the world, bikur cholim, taking care of the sick. He interpreted these values not just as a means to help the Jewish community, but to help all Americans who desperately needed a social safety net from the travesties of the Great Depression. The country needed a man like Wilbur Cohen, and Mr. Cohen heard and responded to that call by projecting his Jewish values. And my question to y'all this evening is, what does this call look like for us? What is our personal responsibility? What does our humanitarian glow look like? Between the 1930s and 1970s, with help from our own Wilbur Cohen, our country built grand institutions to protect its citizens and prevent them from being sick and alone. Whether it's Medicare for the aging population, Medicaid for those who find themselves in need of care and are low income, or SNAP, which is a food aid program, to name a few. And thanks to Mr. Cohen, the government then took personal responsibility for its citizens, and these institutions have successfully helped countless Americans recover from hitting rock bottom and bounce them back up to success again. And yet, currently, there is a vehement conversation occurring around the question, is our social safety net the responsibility of our federal government? And it looks like our federal government has made a decision. Starting with the dismantling of the USAID and continuing with the reconciliation bill and culminating with not renewing subsidies for the American CARES Act, our government is making the choice that's not their problem if citizens need assistance. And whether you agree with our federal government or not, it's the direction it's currently moving. Defunding and understaffing the USAID limits the goodwill and assistance from other nations for our country. The reconciliation bill passed in July diminishes our social safety net to decrease taxes. And in January, over 20 million Americans enrolled in the American CARES Act, the ACA, could see unaffordable and unmanageable increase in their health care costs. This will include at least 25,000 Alaskans. I believe what we should now be asking ourselves is, what role do we play as a community in this shifting landscape? Because I happen to believe there's nothing more potent in this world than a community on a mission. A community with a humanitarian glow. A community working together can achieve powerful results through shared values. A community whose values compel it to help those who are the most vulnerable. The same values that drove Mr. Wilbur Cohen to build welfare institutions for our country. And our community has options on what role we would like to play. We could say to our government it is moving in the wrong direction, towards a direction that is harmful to those most in need. That the social safety net is the business of the government, and our own Wilbur Cohen fought so hard for our government to specifically take care of those in need. Perhaps our taxes should fund programs that help those in need of assistance, and perhaps the federal government should be organizing those efforts. And then it would become our personal responsibility to advocate and civically engage for a strong social safety net, applying our time and energy into a democratic system that sways towards the will of the people. That with enough effort and determination, our society swings toward a mentality that feels every person in this country who is home alone sick is our government's personal responsibility. Another option is to accept this is our reality for at least the next 4 years and help build our own local safety net for our community and for the Alaska community. That the social safety net is now our business since our government decides it's not theirs. It would be our personal responsibility to organize programming to help our fellow Alaskans who hit rock bottom bounce back and be successful again, applying our time and energy to help support and build systems to catch people in need and offer them pathways to success, to roll up our sleeves and do what our federal government is choosing not to do. A third option is to stay out of the way. We are a vulnerable community who is experiencing unprecedented anti-Semitism. We may need to ask for our own advocacy and support from the rest of the community. We may need to let others decide what our role our government plays in our social safety net, because we may need to be quiet, keep our heads down, and endure. No matter what option you agree or disagree with, we have a choice in front of us. How we move forward needs to be a community effort. It feels as if our federal government is forcing us into uncharted territory. But this is not the first time where our people have faced the unknown. Our entire identity is wrapped up in the Exodus story, where our ancestors faced the unknown every day. And they showed us how the Jewish people persevere, no matter the obstacles, because our values guide us. We should not hide from our values or let others erode our values. I am so proud of them. I'm so proud to be Jewish, to be part of an ancient tradition that stands for freedom, that believes in helping others, not for the reward in the hereafter, but for the good work itself. I am proud that our values guided such heroes as Wilbur Cohen. In the past year, I've learned much about community. I've seen many of our members show their incredible concern for our congregation and their desire to make it a place we all want to feel welcome, a place where we all belong. It's taken a lot of work, and we've argued a lot, but that's our right as Jews to argue. And we did it. We figured out how to be a caring, functional, and compassionate community. And now I'm asking that we figure out how to be a community on a mission. We deserve to live in a place that respects our values. But it's up to us to protect the values we hold dear. No one is going to do it for us. And how might we do this, you may ask? Well, there's an excerpt from a 1967 edition of a magazine called Oasis, who interviewed none other than Wilbur Cohen. And it wrote, "The bouncy, energetic, indefatigable Mr. Cohen will go just about anywhere, either to rally support for a piece of legislation or to attempt to convince opponents that the cause is just. Mr. Cohen will speak out loud for what he believes and ask others to join him." If one person can single-handedly support a social safety net for the whole country, then our community can definitely support a social safety net for our city, for our state, and even our country. To do so, we will need to be energetic and indefatigable. We will need to convince opponents our cause is just, and we need to be loud for what we believe and ask others to join us. But we are actually already these things, especially loud. The mantle of personal responsibility has fallen upon our community. It is time for us to shine our humanitarian glow. Yom Kippur is a holiday about redemption, repentance, and reconciliation. We go through this process so we can walk the path that Adonai sets before us. We go through this process so we are not consumed by our mistakes of our past, so we can prepare ourselves for the future, so we can have the capacity to safeguard our values, the capacity to make our world a better place, a healthier place, a place that cares for its citizens. The time for this is now. I hope as a community with our important and beautiful values, we can show our country how much we care, the way that Wilbur Cohen showed us how much he cared. Thank you.